Thank you so much, Deep, and over to Taran.
Hello, everyone. Greetings from the Primetime team. Welcome to the 60th episode. We are very pleased to have Ganesh Shankar address us on today's Primetime show. A brief introduction. He is a serial entrepreneur in sustainability and clean tech space. Currently, he is the founder and CEO of FluxGen Technologies. He has also co founded the Sustainability Mafia and AirProbe.tech drone analytics. He's very passionate about environment and conserving nature. He also believes in conserving water and does tech related stuff for it. We welcome you, Ganesh, and are eager to listen to you. Over to you.
Thank, thank you so much, Taranjit. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
Thanks a lot for the wonderful introduction. I feel it's a great pleasure to be speaking on this prime time exclusive, and it's a real privilege for me to address such a august gathering. And Mahindra is one of the most amazing company in terms of various things, especially when you talk about sustainability. I derive inspiration from Mahindra. So to talk about sustainability to Mahindra is real privilege. Thank you so much for that. So I would like to share my screen. So please let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, Ganesh, we can see a screen.
Okay. So thanks again. So I am talking about entrepreneurial journey in the field of sustainability. So I avoided the word my because it is also our journey. I mean, the people whom I work together with. So the whole presentation should be seen with the fact that it does work with bunch of really amazing people. So all that comes, what is shared in this is the work of my team. So let me start. The picture that you're seeing right now is actually something that came out of a mess table discussion when I was a student at the Institute of Science. You think what is the most amazing way to live life? And we each of us started talking about it, and the idea that came to me was like how we are having abundant resources, whether it is water, energy, and still able to share well, and nobody is having any shortage of any of these things. But then, of course, life has its own thing. I ended up taking a job and moved on. Completely forgot about this idea that I conceived when I was a student at the Institute of Science. This presentation is some way connected to this picture. Okay, so I'm going to divide the whole presentation as my journey as an entrepreneur into how it all started, and then I'm going to talk about what was the concept that came into my mind to eventually start building product with my team, and how the idea led to building a prototype and then deploying it on ground, and what were the challenges that we faced as we tried to build a product. And I would of course conclude with a interesting video. So yeah. So yes, of course, as I said, it all started at IISc. I felt I was really privileged to be studying one of the top institutes in India, and I always felt that I had the opportunity to do engineering because I had privilege to be born to a family where they could afford education, food, and all those things, which we can't take it for granted. And well, of course, I had my own time working on something called quadrupole ion trap mass spectrometer as part of my master thesis. Of course, that's a part of the equipment used even in building quantum computers. But my time was mostly spent outside the lab, especially during the weekends. Other time doing being part of student social, student council, and or some trek or other. It comes to revelation that some of these interaction that I had with my batchmates really influenced to work with people and build that skills. Of course, I almost got a job in to work in General Electric, and I nearly lost when I chose to go to Kashmir. But fortunately, there was a very kind man. He gave me back the job in GE. His name is Balaji Kaliappan. So I always thought there was a kind of foolishness in me to actually not do what is apt, but somehow the other way, some kind people comes and make sure that it was not foolish. So that's how I ended up getting the job back in GE that I had got placed during campus interview. I worked in aviation systems in GE, and then I moved to energy business. So that's when I realized what energy business was all about. What is and how does energy impact our life? And this was again at the same time I was when I was already doing well in GE for nearly 2 years. I decided to leave the job and work on something that was more meaningful in my own thought process. Work on something related to rural electrification, rural work with rural people. So yes, I left that job and came back to Bangalore. In fact, it's funny that my mother told me, "Who's going to marry you?" You know, the concerns back in 2010, entrepreneurship, startup was all not that great glamour. But my mother was really coming from the family of teachers. She found it really. I was stupid enough. I was foolish enough to leave that good job. I did feel I was foolish later, but it was all you end up meeting great people which they make sure that your decision was not all that foolish. So that's how I ended up going to a small town called Ujjire near Dharmasthala. This is a place where this office is called Selco Solar. A professor of mine from IIC connected me to the company Selco, Dr. Harish Shande, and told, why don't you work in this company which is doing all that you want to do, learn from them, and then end up building your startup. So I was lucky that I got that experience. I worked on many rural related projects and water, energy, agriculture in a span of 6 months. And that picture right side you're seeing is one of the site where I was a field commissioning engineer. So that's how I moved from a job in General Electric, which where I learned a lot of things to start applying in my next phase of my life. I made up a career vision at that time. I thought we should make sustainability the default choice. I want to work on eco-friendly engineering solution rest of my life. In fact, that was reflected even in my resignation letter when I left GE. It was a company that I never wanted to leave, but I wanted to follow my passion in this at that time. So the next phase was actually coming back to Bangalore. Of course, I should also tell you that before coming to Bangalore, the whole of 2011, I spent doing cycle rides from Bangalore to Goa, Chennai, Kanyakumari, various rides, a life of a hippie for 1 year before I got really serious to build this company. So first thing that I did was, if I want to sell sustainable technologies or solar, first I should get one at my own place. So what I did was I had saved money from GE. I also used my provident fund to get all this solar panels, and I put it on my rooftop. I told like I bought the solar panel enough to generate 2 units of electricity. But it so happened when I actually saw I was not getting 2 units of electricity. 2 units is equal to 2 kilowatt hour. So and then my colleague, my friend Hari came in and told Ganesh, let's build this, find out how much energy you would actually get. And we developed a energy monitoring solution and using all this energy meter. And we found out we were only getting 1 unit of electricity. And we realized we saw the graph, we saw the data pattern of this energy generation and realized there's a lot of shadow on the solar panel, the trees around and the houses nearby ensured that we would not get all that full electricity. So this was a very interesting thing. Then we thought we should actually show to somebody that we have done this. And first, I immediately went with Hari to our alma mater, University of Science. Thought, how about showed this system, saying that we are able to do something that would be able to generate electricity, know how much electricity you would generate, and you also able to put it on internet. And that's when we landed up into a project with Divecha Center for Climate Change at the University of Science. The professor said, Ganesh, would you be able to set up a solar plant where there is one solar panel set would be a static system, and the other one would be tracking. So tracking like a sunflower, like it would track the sun. Of course, sun doesn't move, but so we were able to put this tracking system. So we put up this whole solar static system, a stationary one, and a tracking system, and we ended up building a monitoring system for that. So since I had worked in General Electric in meters business, I got some bunch of meters. We connected all the solar panels to a this energy meter, DC meter, and we were able to connect to an inverter and a charge controller, and we were able to get this data and put it to a network. So we found very interesting results when we did this. So I don't know if you're able to see the numbers on this. We were able to see amount of energy generated by a tracking system more than a static system, especially in the morning. So as you could see, it is almost double the power that you would get using a tracking system. And this was very interesting. This was rather one of the early times, the early days of our how we were able to use data science or data to understand a physical system, like especially in a sustained thing. So this actually helped us to understand how the data-driven approach could actually be very useful in building many other sustainable systems. So like this, we ended up doing many projects. So this phase of our FluxGen or my career was doing projects and consulting. We ended up doing a project for Indian Railways by putting a solar panel on the train and finding out energy generated and finding out the vibration, temperature, various data. We did a project on agriculture system. We were able to understand, put the data science system onto agriculture, put dripping water drip and find out how much less water you can use to cultivate same amount of crop. And we also use temperature humidity based sensor in a poly house. So we did projects like this. So during this phase, we realized that so much can be done by doing projects. And I mean, as students of research in the past, we really enjoyed doing all this project. But what we did later was actually realize that we'd actually build a product with all this knowledge that we have got. So and this is where I'm talking about how we transitioned from a projects and consulting company to a product company. So when I came back to Bangalore from the small town Ujjire, I always felt that the way electricity is delivered to the villagers was not optimized. So either you would get electricity in that location if it's not very far from the grid, or you have to put a solar plant and you should get electricity in that particular house. So we realized that people want electricity, not electricity plant. So I thought, why don't we actually set up a small grid, small enough to be a microgrid? Perhaps the first grid would have been a small microgrid, right? So, of course, their nomenclature can change, pico, nano grid, but call it as microgrid. So what we thought was, how about put a solar panel, bunch of solar panel, and if required, a wind turbine if the place has a lot of wind, and connect it to battery and inverter and distribute this power to bunch of houses. A small enough village that grid would not penetrate that location, and use smart technologies to ensure that people would not use all the power that is generated. I mean, you divide it such that if you generate 10 units of electricity, you can give each unit to 10 houses, something like that, and ensure the health of this solar PV system is monitored, just like the system that we did for the Vicha Center for Climate Change, right? So, and have a communication system to ensure that if there is any possibility of failure, it can be detected in advance, because you would not have field technician, a lot of field technician is a remote village, small village. So this was the idea. And I showed this to a bunch of my friends and bunch of guys. I thought, guys, look at this. This is the idea that we want to build. So my friends and all these guys said, Ganesh, I understand you have this passion and want to build stuff for this, but these kind of stuff don't work in Indian villages. Rural areas, it don't work. And yeah, I mean, understand you have this knowledge and all this thing, but it will not do work. So I was definitely disheartened, and I thought of at some point of time probably not pursue, but the urge to do this was slightly higher than giving up. So what I thought was, why should we not build a setup like this in the lab? Why not build a prototype? That's when we actually thought of implementing a prototype at a lab scale and at least see if we can move the needle to an extent. So what we did was we were playing a lot of table tennis at that time. So we thought, how about use our table tennis so that we could work a little more a table tennis to build this jig where we could actually set up a small microgrid. So we ended up doing it. I mean, we had bunch of interns and Lokesh Tejas. Hari, of course, was leading this thing. Adeep was also working with us. They're all students at that time and just graduated and doing internship. Hari and myself, of course, have a long history. So we made this system, I mean, where we would be able to connect all the loads. This was not really appealing. So what we thought was, why don't we put up this uh, sheets, the coloring sheets, and try to make it as real as possible, right? So what we did was we got electric sockets, LED lights, and CFL lights, incandescent lights, all those things. We got it and put the whole microgrid on the table tennis system, right? We even lit this up. I mean, we were able to power this microgrid. I don't know if you can see a small picture of that sheet I had shared earlier. And then we were able to build this whole software for this. I mean to say, yeah, of course, we cleaned it up and started calling people to the lab and showed how we are able to put up a small microgrid in the lab and we are able to generate electricity from the same rooftop solar that I showed you in my first few slides and generate electricity and distribute electricity among these houses using the energy meter which we had earlier integrated for this solar tracking system. We put the same energy meter to monitor the amount of energy consumed. Of course, this was RACI meters. And we were able to connect the communication cable, Modbus cable, and various other cable to get the electricity that was consumed in each house, right? So we wrote the software. We of course used a rapid development software, LabVIEW, to write the whole software, and we developed a software which would monitor the amount of energy generated by the solar plant, amount of energy consumed by individual houses, and then we showed the system to a bunch of friends whom we had earlier showed. Many people thought, wow, you have not given up on this, or you worked on this. This seems like achievable. You're able to see something working on the ground. So that means there's a possibility that we could work on the field. So this is how an idea we took it to a prototype stage where we did the entire simulation on the lab and we were able to monitor the amount of energy consumed by individual house so that we could arbitrate how much energy should go to individual house and ensure that one house would not take all that power. We also connected to the internet so that we would able to monitor the entire system anywhere in the world once we set it up. So of course, then we started showing to a lot of people, right? So again, while as an entrepreneur, you're always foolish in many ways that you think things will work. We also ended up finding very kind people who would complement our that passion or foolishness or whatever that you would call. And we met Professor J. Srinivasan from Divecha Center for Climate Change. He was the chairman of Divecha Center for Climate Change. He was happy with our system that we had given for the solar tracking and static system. And he said, we would sponsor this project. We would fund this project. You guys identify right place so that it fits the bill. So what we did was we went around everywhere. All my cycle trips in 2011 probably came in handy. That we had, and also my colleague at that time, Kaustubh Karnataki, he came from North Karnataka, and we have identified an amazing village. Let's go and check this village out where they don't have electricity at all. To be honest, there are many villages where there was no electricity. It was no-brainer to find one village. So we identified a village, not just there was no electricity, there was absolutely no transportation to that place and no medical facility at all. And it was inside a reserve forest area. And in reserve forest area, you can't extend electricity grid according to Supreme Court ruling that it would lead to poaching of animals or forest fire. So it was a perfect candidate. So we jumped into this opportunity. We went to this place called Bhimgad Wildlife Sanctuary. I don't know any of you from North Karnataka, Belgaum. You would probably know that place. So this is in Khanapur Taluk, and we went there. This is the last place where the Star Road. And then we trekked. We were in 20s, in your 20s, you have this energy to trek anywhere, anytime, and you're willing to do anything that you want. Right. So we ended up trekking all the way to this beautiful place called Mendel. I don't know if you could see the houses here. We went all the way to that houses. It was beautiful. I mean, like, while these guys didn't have any electricity or any such thing, but they were living in a very amazing place. But there's no way to transportation was not possible. The nearest city was some 45-50 kilometers and no grid. So this place called Mendel, we somehow found this place, and we were thrilled to see that it was exactly like our table tennis board houses, right? And what we did was we ended up talking to everybody in the village. Before that, we understood how are they getting access to energy. I'm not talking about electricity per se, energy in general. So we found out they were using this kerosene lamp, chula, that they were using, and it had to led to indoor pollution for the women in the village. And they were also using this batteries, which they were actually carrying this battery for nearly 5 kilometers to a truck, get it charged, again bring it back for next 5 days. They would use it again, take it back, get it charged. And on top of that, they were using a inverter which had hardly 30% efficiency. So that way they would not get all that power they would only get 30% of that power. So we realized that they were using a very prehistoric ways of power, right? Electricity. So, and another thing is, since I had also worked in a corporate environment like General Electric, I knew the importance of design thinking and how you would have to do user interview before actually building a product or service, right? So we talked to everybody in the village. We talked to the village mukhyasta, the headman. We talked to the ladies in the village. We talked to youth in the village. What really melted us was when we talked to the kids in the village. The kids told, I mean, we were asking them, why do you need electricity? It seems very obvious to all of us, but since we are putting a small plant, we wanted to understand where would they use electricity the most. The kids told they want to do homework so that they can become officers, engineers, and doctors, and be as good as the people in the cities, or even better. That's why we melted, right? I mean, like, I didn't do a lot of my homeworks in my childhood, but these guys wanted to do homework. That's why they wanted electricity. They decided, yes, we are going to electrify this village no matter what, right? And we ended up actually talking to everybody, and went to the village Gram Panchayat. This is Shiroli Gram Panchayat, and we went and told, sir, we want to electrify this village. Please give us permission. He told, we can't give you any permission. There is no way you can use any forest land to set up a solar plant. We were like, again, I mean, push back on, oh, what do we do now? We were actually very confused at that moment. But they say, right, obstacle is a path. We asked them, sir, how do we go about doing this? They were actually kind people. They told, you don't have to worry about this. You ask the villagers, they will give you a small piece of land for your solar plant. Anyway, it doesn't take much place, right? So that's where we found the answer also. We said just, oh yeah, we'll ask the villagers. They would probably be able to give us. And then the Village Center was willing to fund the project. And we eventually it was inside forest area. You have to transport goods inside forest area, right? So we took permission from the forest officials. And like that, we started electrifying this village. Initially, we thought we'll put underground pipes and lay out the cable. But when we told this idea to the villagers, they told, oh, that's not real electricity. The real electricity is where there's electric pole. So we were initially confused what to do. I mean, should we convince them that that's also real electricity, that it is just going underground and you're getting? Or should we actually put up electric pole? So we realized instead of convincing them, putting electric pole would rather be better, so that they'll be 100% confident this is real electricity. Right, and it also we during this interview also came to know one of the in the meetings with the village ladies, that they would not be able to go to urinate in the night because there's no light in the village. So they were very scared of going, and so we realized we could actually put street lights there if we put an electric pole. So we ended up putting electric pole, and they were very happy. Okay, at least these are real. So we did the electricity connection just like the table tennis board. This, you could see that we put the solar plant, we wired it up, the car, Ramesh Kamath, who is the owner of that plot, the house, actually gave us a small land to put up this thing. And we were able to put the same energy meter we had put in that table tennis board. And they were, that's one of the things, like when you actually do a good simulation, it works really well in the field. So, same electrical cables, same wires that we had actually used on the table tennis board, we were able to use on the system. So one very interesting thing that I learned when I was at GE was in an all hands meeting where one of the speaker had told that if you solve a problem at the design level, you solve that in $1. If you don't solve that design, you end up solving at a laboratory level. Then the same problem would cost you $10. And if you end up not solving in the laboratory and end up solving the problem at the field, the same problem would cost you $100. And after handover to the customer, it is your reputation at cost. So fact that we had actually done the laboratory level and the prototype on the field, we didn't have to spend a lot of money and it worked very well in the very first go. So we were able to actually put up this grid. We took help of everybody there. I mean, when we were building this, we knew it was inside a reserve forest where there were animals, tigers, and all those things would come. So we knew that once we enter this village, we can't go back. So we took help of the villagers. We took the local solar installer. We took the small kids help also to put up this whole system there, right? So this is why we were putting this weather station. Since the funding came from the VHR Center for Climate Change, they wanted some scientific data like the weather data, incoming solar radiation, wind speed, wind direction. So we were able to put a weather station there. Of course, we extended the pole later because this was not giving full data because of the obstruction near the house. But still, we took their help to actually, you can see the kids so happy of putting that pole, right? And we wired the houses exactly like the way we had wired our microgrid on the table tennis board. And since we had had written the software in the lab, we didn't have to write anything there. We just had to go there, deploy in a day or two. The whole system was actually working. And it was actually something, again, I had learned in GE about right the first time, constant ingredients of doing something right the first time by doing a lot of trials at the lab level and this one level. So like this, was the block diagram. I don't want to go to too much technical details, but I'll just quickly say that we had put a solar plant, we had put a charge controller and an inverter that would charge the battery. And we had the smart monitoring system which would send the data, which would collect all the data. There's a solar, charge controller, or weather station, and also the monitor the amount of energy consumed by individual houses and also control the relay. This how this little girl here saw electricity for the first time. Right? She had never seen. Of course, the men used to go to the nearby villages, nearby cities and work there and come back. But the ladies or the girls had never seen electricity. And she was really, really thrilled. And I mean, we were very thrilled to see she started doing homeworks and started studying. And I should also say the same year when this solar grid was put up, microgrid was put up, the passing percentage increased by 70%. More 70% more people actually passed in the exam, the SSLC exam. This shows that, I mean, of course, we didn't do the write the exam, but it shows how electricity that we take today for granted has such an impact on people who don't have it. Right. So they also got television. They watched Chitra to EduSat, all the program. In that way, they were on a level playing field. They were actually able to experience electricity the way we all experience, right? So this is really, really feeling. And very interesting in India is that you get network, mobile network everywhere, but there was not enough electricity to charge them. So they were able to use mobile phone. This way, the villagers were able to live a life that was something close to what we all live today. This, of course, made really good feeling. But we also used our system to monitor the amount of energy generated and consumed. We saw on a day where there was this full sunlight, they would not even switch off the light and they would just sleep. But on the day when there was not enough electricity, they would conserve enough power to ensure they get it at the right time. So that's how we ended up using all this data science IoT to monitor the system, and we would able to understand how to rightly size the solar plant, rightly size the microgrid in terms of battery storage, and so we ended up writing papers and also published, and eventually this helped in coming with the micro. I mean, there was a bit of contribution that led to coming with the microgrid policy in the country. And this was the same year that Prime Minister Narendra Modi was elected, and that's the time he wanted to electrify the whole country, right? So we thought we were in the right place at that time, but what led to the future was we realized that distribution of electricity was not really legal in India at that time. So we realized that we should actually put this kind of system in a captive place, or a place where there's like a confined place. So we came up with our product at that time. So we realized the same system that we had put in village can be useful in urban areas as well. So that this is the time that we started understanding how clean energy should replace the conventional energy, and how solar could play a very important role. And we just thought the same system that we had developed can be used for both energy and water. That's why we came with a product called Energy and Water Manager. Our component, what we were solving was ensuring and data is taken from the system to ensure they're managed well. So we came with this product called Energy and Water Manager. You could see a dashboard, and realized now that there is a issue in terms of distributing electricity in villages, how about use the same thing to manage energy and water, which are both very important. And realized during the same time we realized that the management of water was actually even not well done, right? So that led to us building this again a system, and we started going out with people saying that we have developed IoT based energy and water management system. It was again on the lab scale. We had not developed at a field scale for a water management, but energy, of course, we had a system like this. What we did was we started exhibiting this system on in various events, right? And one of the event was this event in Bangalore International Exhibition Center. And what we had done was we had put a whole prototype of energy and water management system for industries, commercial facilities, and apartments. We had came up with this idea. So of course we had not done a detailed market study. That's why I call like people like me as real foolish guys who have not really done a detailed study. But we ended up this person called Murli from Titan, Murli sir from Titan. So he was very kind. He told, "This is something that we want, Titan Jewelry Division, and we have not been able to find people who would help us solve the problem of water in for our facility." We were, wow, we thought this idea would go somewhere, but have we never thought it would eventually we will immediately get a person buyer for the system. We were thrilled, and we actually ended up going to the facility Titan Jewelry Division and understanding the problem. The most I should always tell that most of the things that we learned were all from our customers, whether it is in projects and consulting or this village project. So when we went to Titan Jewelry Division, I mean, a Tata company, you all know, they were really, really gracious, and they knew that we had not had an expertise in it, but we had done some pilot prototypes, but they were gracious enough to tell, we will give this project to you, but ensure that it solves a problem. And that's how we started. And during that time, we actually understood the problem of water while we were talking to them. So we realized that they were buying water at the highest price. I mean, at almost like $1 per kiloliter, 70 rupees per kiloliter. And they really their water consumption was regularly increasing. They had done rainwater harvesting and rejuvenated that place, but still their borewell was running out of water. And on top of that, there's an overflow of water, and the water was spilling out, and they didn't know how to manage this, right? So we had already codified the solution that we had done for microgrid to this kind of system. The software that we had written for the microgrid, we had already developed it for energy and water management. So we clearly saw this as a great opportunity, and the problem of water was understood even better when we started talking to him and the whole team at Titan Jewelry Division. We realized that they were taking manual hand ledger readings. They were going to multiple location to understand how much water is consumed. So they were taking water data twice a day, morning and evening, and this through this they were not able to understand where there is leakage, wastage, excessive usage of water, because you would not be able to understand water consumption through this ledger. And on top of that, they were also having, I mean, responsible organization, they were able to they were treating water, right? So they were treating water, and the water treatment would also fail sometime because they are not measuring the performance of it. So all this led to us digitizing their entire water infrastructure. So we realized that if you don't measure, you can't manage. That's the rule for anything and everything, right? So what we started doing was we started laying out a wireless sensor network in Titan Jewelry Division, right? So what we did was we identify the points where the water should be monitored. So they had already put mechanical, we replaced it with digital water flow meters. As you could see, we would monitor the water consumed in multiple locations, and we track the water in all this, whether it is electromagnetic or a electromechanical or ultrasonic. We had to decide which water flow meter. Though this project was actually given for 3 months, we actually ended up taking 9 months to complete the first phase of the project. I should definitely, if we have a product today, it is because of this company, right? So we ended up putting this IoT based monitoring solution, monitor the water flow, water level, and various other energy consumed by water infrastructure in various locations. So this is how we developed the first software. So whatever the software we had earlier developed for the microgrid, we codified it to the software for your water monitoring, and we put up this wireless sensor, and we were able to monitor. So we digitize whatever they were taking hand readings was converted into digital data. So this was actually something we had not done wireless communication at that time. As you can see, it was something in 2016. We had not even done wireless. We ended, because of this project, we ended up doing wireless communication as well. And we then went on to do visualization of the system, and further build a balance chart for this whole project, right? Identify the complete end-to-end water. And they used to do visual inspection to find out leakage, wastage, excessive usage of water. So using this digitization, we actually started building the time series data and identify whether there's a leakage, wastage, excessive usage of water. So what was manual and no account of where the water leakage was happening, we were able to find all these things through the software. So we even ended up making the reports that were required to find out. I mean, basically, whether the internal audit or external audit, they would need reports. I mean, this is to ensure that their entire water balance is managed. It's also helped them to go for various certification, right? So these reports were generated. What used to take the entire week, in the last week of a quarter, they were able to get in a click of a button. So this is how we ended up building our product Aquagen, and I should definitely thank. And now we are able to we are able to help industries reduce water consumption by up to 30%. And if not that day, Murli sir had not visited that stall that day, probably we would have not built this product. So I'm very, very thankful to him. So like this, we built this product. Now we have more than 30 plus clients, saved more than a billion liter of water so far. And we found more kind people in NASCOM who told this great stuff that you guys are doing, and they ended up supporting us in various ways. We were accelerated by Cisco Launchpad. We also got funding from them, and then later by University of California, Walter Haas Business School in Berkeley, we got further understanding on how to build a product market fit and to expand in the US. And Deshpande Startups is really helped us in fine tuning our sales product. And Microsoft for Startups, we ended up getting the global social entrepreneurship program. Microsoft is then really helped us in scaling our product further. And today we are eyeing at solving the problem for de-risking industries from water shortage. We ended up building the end-to-end water digital water management platform. We monitor today water flow, water level, water pressure, energy consumed by water infrastructure, quality of water, all through this, and put the data to the cloud through the analytics. We are today able to help our industries reduce water consumption by up to nearly 30% up to. So, and I would like to share this 3 minutes video to you to understand more about how indirect water consumption is helping affecting our water tables. So, industries are huge guzzlers of water. Do you know how much water does it take to make a pair of jeans? 7,600 liters. And guess how much a dairy uses every day just for cleaning? More than 1 lakh liter of water. By 2040, most of the countries would not have enough water for their basic needs. The only way to stop this is to become water positive, especially by industries. Being water positive means to reduce wastage and leakage, recycle most of the water, and use methods like rainwater harvesting to meet the rest of the water requirements. As a consumer depending on these industries, our indirect water footprint is much larger than the water we directly consume on a daily basis. But what if industries could minimize their water consumption? What if a dairy used only 45,000 liters instead of 90,000 a day? If 20 dairies did the same, they would be able to save water the size of a lake every year. This is exactly what FluxGen helps industries do. Our technology enables industry owners and factory workers to use water as efficiently as possible. Aquagen monitors the entire water infrastructure of a factory and prevents wastage. We have flow sensors set up in pipes and water level sensor in tanks. All of these are connected by IoT to the cloud. Our devices even measure the energy that water pump and the recycling equipment consumes. If an anomaly such as leakage is detected, it alerts the worker on the phone app. There's also a dashboard where managers can see their consumption pattern and take corrective action. We've seen a huge positive behavioral change in water consumption by our customers. For example, the Winner Dairy in Puducherry has cut down their water consumption by 30,000 liters a day in just few months. This has also cut the electricity cost by 15%. There's a direct financial benefit in managing water consumption. 10 years ago, this level of automated water monitoring wasn't required, but now it's essential. As our problems change and new ones come up, our solutions have to keep evolving. Like during the recent lockdown, our team couldn't travel to other states to deploy our product. We took this as a challenge and we found local partners in different cities to set up our systems. It also pushed us to redesign our device and make them more plug and play. So now we are in a position to take our technology anywhere in the world. My goal is to make our lives water positive because there's no substitute to water, right? So we are very thankful to Accenture and Better India for that video. So we believe that there's a lot to be done. I mean, we believe the world is going through water crisis, and we believe that there's a way to act upon it. What we are doing is probably very small, but if each of us end up solving the problem together, we would be able to actually save a lot of water. My journey was actually starting with the simple idea that the environment has to be protected, and I had to utilize my knowledge in technology and build a team, and we could actually solve this. Though it started with solar, we and agriculture and various things, it led to us solving the problem in water. So thank you so much again for this opportunity to share this journey of building the company FluxGen and how we are doing our bit in using the tools that we have learned through education to solve the problem of water. And I should also say that during this last 10 years of my life, I was able to even co-found something called the Sustainability Mafia. a non-profit for impact organization where we brought in leaders in sustainability together to multiply the impact of sustainability leaders through goal-oriented collaboration. And today we have a big consortium of leaders in that, and also able to co-found another company called AirPro. That company uses drone analytics to find out faults in solar farm. The learning in solar was eventually spinned off to this company AirPro. And I'm very happy about the initiative Wednesdays for Water we recently launched on educating about Wednesdays for Water. So these are something that happened over this years, but it all happened because we were with great people. And I came here to talk about building a cleaner, greener, and water positive world. I should tell you that it happened because we met the kind people who supported us. Thanks again for this opportunity. Happy to take questions.
Hey, this is one of the most incredible presentations that I've ever witnessed on prime time. Thank you very much, Ganesh, for obliging us for coming on this show and sharing with so much of authenticity, honesty, and positivity. My name is Krishna Gopal, and you know I'm inspired. I mean, if there's any way personally I can help, including writing out a check, I can do that. And one question I have is this grid that you did in that little village, the forest reserve area. How did you maintain it? So once you walked away, how did the villagers look after it?
So, firstly, thank you so much for your kind words. I can't express your thoughts for the work that we have done. We still have to do a lot. And with respect to your question, so as I said in my presentation that it was not us alone doing this project. We worked with, collaborated with the villagers. We collaborated with the local solar panel installers, solar system installers. We collaborated with them. So once this project was completed, we actually helped these guys to have an understanding on what is the minimum amount they have to pay for maintenance. And the solar installer, Anil Kamath, he was a man who actually helped us even transport those solar panels inside the forest area. Without him, we could have even never even imagined to transport all those things inside a forest area. So he ended up continuing to support the villagers after we left. We were able to meet him. We were able to visit the facility once in a year, but the credit should definitely go to Anil Kamath for actually continuing to support them after we moved on to other projects.
Okay, so essentially, what you're saying is that you need a benefactor who will then support the villagers to make sure that it sustains there. Fine, good.
Correct. So he is also is a localite. He was from Belgaum district, Belgaum city, and this place is in Kanapur, very close to that. So he used to visit. So it was as I said, none of this should be taken entire credit. We shouldn't take entire credit. These people were there with us when we did this project.
Sure.
So and they continue to help. Yes, there has to be a person who would benefit from doing the service. So it was a model that eventually we laid out after we exited from that work.
So what would a typical village electrification cost? I mean, I'm just trying to think ahead to say that because it's easy for people to write out a check. The hard work nobody does, right? You guys did the hard work. But if there is a way that we can go to people and say, write out a check for a X amount, I hope that not 1 crore, right? This is a small amount. Then this village is electrified by Krishna Gopal. This village is electrified by Srishti. This village is electrified by this thing. It becomes a little more of a sustainable rolling thing. And then, of course, you need to find a benefactor. That's a different problem.
Yes, sir. So in solar field, ideally everything is the unit economics comes down to WP, watt peak watt. That's the amount of energy power that is required. So per watt cost of thing is around 70 rupees around, for a microgrid. So typically anybody would require for a 10 house, you would require at least 2 kilowatt system. Even 1 kilowatt we could do. So that's how the math works. So when we did this project, probably it was around, we had put a 2 kilowatt system, and we had put a 800 hour ampere battery. So when you do it at scale, it would come down to 70 rupees per unit per watt of this thing. So I'd be happy to work with you on the math on how you could electrify villages. I think the model of you saying that each person owns 10 houses in a village, right? I mean, that change. I mean, we live in such a non-uniform level. There's no level playing field, and somebody like you willing to actually do that, and you inspire others. I already can imagine how the world could be a better place.
No, because lots of, I live in a society where people will easily write out a check. People don't want to, go into that forest reserve area and live there the way you did it. Uh, that's where people balk. Otherwise, there is generosity. The generosity is the easiest thing of generosity is writing out a check, right? The toughest generosity is going and doing it, right? Which is what you have done. So I think thank you for that.
No, sir. I mean, as I said, we did our bit. There's a lot to be done, and when being in this field, I clearly know that what we did was very, very small.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, is there anybody else asking? I'm sure lots of questions are there for the panel.
Yes, KG. So, Ganesh, actually, thank you so much for this session and very informative, and really proud to see what you have done. And we have a lot of comments getting in for you. They're saying great work, very inspiring, brilliant. Kudos to you and your team, very inspirational. One question which almost everyone, including KG, was asking is how do we get started? How do we join hands? How to get started? What do you think will be an ideal roadmap to continue this journey? Is one question almost which many people have asked during the registrations as well. So if you can guide
So,
them.
so I will paraphrase that a little more clearly. The question is, hey, we are inspired. Hey, we want to help you. What what should we do to help you?
Yeah.
Sir, I'll tell you. I have not thought through, but I'll tell what comes on top of my mind. I used to offer this course at my alma mater, Institute of Science, and the idea of this course was, of course, to build a product that would help the society. So what I told my students was, please go and talk to your family members, friends, people around. What problems are they facing? And the thing is, as our father of nations said, be the change you want to see, right? So when you list down all these problems, one or the other, I'm not saying you have to solve only the problem of what on electrification or water or something. There are problems in our country, countless problem in our country. There'll be some problem that will really hit your heart, and you would not be able to sleep after hearing that problem. So instead of being in ignorance, the first step is talk to people about the problems they are facing. And it is even good if you talk to people who are in the side of disadvantage and find out what you could do. And we all have our own constraints. It's not possible to leave house in the middle of the night. I mean, I'm telling Siddhartha because my son's name is Siddharth. In the middle of the night to solve. It is not possible for all of us to do reform the whole. But we have our own capacity. We have our own ways to do things. So there is no big and there is no small. So my thought is that talking to people, being empathetic about that, and trying to see what you could do, whether you're sitting at your home or going outside. So please don't get to the conclusion that only if you go to a village and solve like we did is work. There is problems everywhere. So my suggestion is let us the awareness hit our head on what is happening around us and what could be the solution to it. Even if we don't solve it, at least being aware will actually evolve a lot as human, and everything will happen on its own once the awareness come to your mind. I don't know if I answered it, but I mean, I'm not.
It's a very,
But
very, very deep and philosophical answer you have given, Ganesh. I think what Ganesh says is, I solved this problem of electricity in villages to an extent I think was possible. I solved some water problem. You don't have to be constrained with that. He's actually giving you a master class on how to probably spot opportunities in your own sphere of influence and space and find a solution for that. and pursue that. He's given you a master class in that in exactly 5 minutes.
No, so
So,
you're too kind to say that. So
so thank you very much. Yeah, go ahead with other questions.
Yes. So Ganesh, we've heard you talk about what has happened in the last 10 years in your journey. So one question what I can see is what is your dream through this venture? So what next can we expect from Ganesh in the next coming 10 years or 5 years maybe?
So it comes across as I got this inspiration from one of the movies I had seen. This is called the movie is called Hamsa Geete, a Kannada movie. In that, this musician, his name is Venkata Subbaya. This book is written by, of course, Tarasu. He is in pursuit of learning music, and he wants to be the best in music. And when he meets his teacher, he tells pick one raga and practice it rest of your life. That actually hit me a lot. I realized it is not possible to do too many things in life. Just pick one thing. So I feel for me, the thing is about water. I realized that I hope in my lifetime the problem of water is solved. Not necessarily by me, but it is solved. But knowing the problems of water, I realize that it is going to take a lot of time. So the immediate goal is we have decided to save a 1 billion liter of water every day through our system. So we want to work towards saving a 1 billion liter of water every day. And next, once we achieve that, we want to see how everybody, I mean, there is water should not be a constraint for us, it should be available. So eventually make everything what I mean, as I said in my that video, to make world water positive. So making a world water positive is rather a very asymptotic goal, very huge goal. But we have kept a number to save a 1 billion liter of water. First, once we do that, we want to build a target how we can build a water positive. That's all I can think of today. That more, I mean, I picked just like Venkata Subbaya picked Bhairavi. In all, I have picked water, and let's see if I could do even a micro contribution in this field.
Very interesting because almost 70% of us almost in this call also will be living in a city where we have water issues at least during peak summer. I hope this really comes true so that we're all water positive like the way you said. All right. So Ganesh, before we close, a quick rapid fire question. So given a time machine, if you can go back to 10 years or 12 years down the lane, is there anything you would like to change?
I should have started little early in this field because there was so less time to do more work.
All right. Okay. So there is one more question about entrepreneurship. So it's like entrepreneurs need to make profit. They may impact the environment. So how do you attain that balance?
So everything that we do has an implication on the environment, right? Even if you are putting a solar panel, that also has a carbon footprint. So we should not be in an assumption that we are doing something is good. Always, it's good in all terms. So we should have the sense of skepticism in what we do. So I believe if you have a sense of skepticism in everything that we do, we end up go into the depth of the matter. So you would eventually hit the balance if you are critic to your own work.
All right. And like you said, you felt like you should have started early, but again, the initial step which you take matters the most. At least it's never too late. It's never too late to start anything. With that note, I will read out few comments before I close today's call. So there are many people who are saying, because you have lightened up many kids' life and they're all proud of you. And inspiring work also is one more comment for you. Any last comment you would like to tell us so that we get a strong message saying, yes, this is what we should do?
So one of the reason why I told I should have started early is because the world is in mess, right? COVID is actually a fire drill for climate crisis, right? So, as much as whatever we do, we don't. I mean, just yesterday the IPCC report came, right? The planet is becoming warmer and warmer, and because the planet is becoming warmer. If I go to details, the evapotranspiration, everything changes. So to tell in the simpler terms, we have been living in the same world where The Ashoka to Akbar ruled, but with a warmer planet, the rainfall pattern has changed. The amount of rainfall that would fall in a place has, there are some places where there's drought, some places there's flood. So it is time that we change our habits, we change our way of doing things, so that the next generation, which deserves, they deserve this legal right for this planet, we leave it cooler and cleaner and better for them. So if that's the only message I could say, that's why I believe we should have all started early. So if there is something that we could do is change the way such that the planet becomes cooler.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. We had a lady called Kalpana Ramesh who came and spoke. She does, restoration of wells, restoration of water bodies. She's in Hyderabad. I think Srishti, you must try and connect Ganesh because both
Definitely.
have water. Kalpana and Ganesh, and maybe some 2 plus 2 might become 22.
Definitely, KJ. I was mentioning about Kalpana to Ganesh in yesterday's
He
dry run
did.
as well. So I'll make sure I connect you both so that we can see
Please,
some
please.
changes in the future as well. All right, so we are on top of the hour. Ganesh, thank you so much. Thank you is just a small word for all that you're doing, but it really means a lot for you accepting this invite and joining us today. And we will definitely stay in touch with you. Good luck on all your future interviews. Thank you so much, Ganesh. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot again for this opportunity. This kind level of kindness you have given. I mean, you have called great speakers here. A lot of this one. I feel really humbled to be even part of this talk. Thanks again for the opportunity.
Welcome, Ganesh. Thank you all. Thank you everyone for joining and stay safe. Take care.